Traveling Crazy Cat Lady.
Hi, and welcome back to my channel. This is video number 2 on this, my new channel. I am Traveling Crazy Cat Lady Harriet. I'm feral, but fully socialized. You'll hear tales of my travels and travels that have been going on since late 2018. And I've been pet sitting. I am an artist. So I've learned a lot along the way, and I hope these stories will be entertaining and perhaps enlightening, and maybe, like me, you'll learn a couple of things, and I hope to throw in some tips and tricks for travel, for taking care of animals, and for art. So come join me. We're going to start talking about my time in Italia. Let's go. Okay, so I'm going to talk about my time in Italy. And as I mentioned, I went around Norway and went to Poland and then to Prague. And I spent a few hours in Vienna on my way down to Italy. Now, I made another map, and it is a hand-drawn map. It is not from my memory. It's of Italy. I looked at a map of Italy just to get the basics right, but it is not accurate. It's just kind of freehand, but it looks like Italy. It's not accurate though. So, and it is in my sketchbook, and this is kind of what I do. Sometimes I do draw realistically, but sometimes I do these kind of color things. So just to jazz things up, I did my map across from that page, and here's Italy. And let me get my my pointer. So here's Italy. And just so you know, this right here is a body of water, okay? I think the next time I do a map, and I'll probably be doing another one, I will make it color so that I can discern between the different countries and water. I'm trying to remember to look at the lens. Okay, so yes. So I came down through I came down through Austria. So Vienna's, to be accurate, if I was accurate, Austria is up here in the northeast corner of, Vienna in the northeast corner of Austria. And I came down through, and here is Venice. And I spent a couple hours in Venice while I was changing trains. And then I went through Bologna, which is like somewhere over here. And then I made it to, this is Tuscany. Now, Tuscany, oh my God. Now, I did not travel all over. I just really went to Tuscany. I was living in Pisa, and then I traveled to Lucca occasionally, and I went up to Florence, and Florence is not on this map. Oh, how could I leave Florence out? My God. Florence is an incredible city. So in between Lucca and Pisa was a place called Villa di Corleano. And I just want to point out on this map, before I start telling more about Villa di Corleano, I have a lot to tell you. I just want to point out, this is Sicily. This down here is Africa, which is so cool that it's so close to Italy and France. Speaking of France, this is France right here. And this is Sardinia, which is an Italian piece of land. It's under Italian jurisdiction. And above it, which I did not emphasize, is another island called Corsica, which belongs to France. So I kind of didn't emphasize it too much. But anyway, there you go. So Florence is somewhere like just above Lucca, near Lucca. I'm sorry I left Florence out. That's a great city. Now, what I want to do is talk about how I came to go to Villa di Corleano. So when I was still in New York, I was looking through something that is a newsletter. So here's one piece of advice I would make to people who are thinking of traveling and maybe using work exchange for as an accommodation hack. There are lots of websites out there like Workaway and Woofing and all those, and you can research all of them, but there's one that you may not have heard of, and it's kind of an original, I think before even all the apps were out there. I think they've been publishing it for like, I don't know, 30 years or more, and it's a newsletter, and it's just, put out there just in this very conventional way. There's no website or anything. There is a website. I take that back. But you apply by writing to the people, and not like through the website. You write to them via email. Anyway, it's called Caretaker Gazette, and you can find them at caretaker.org. And this is not like a paid promotion or anything. I'm just letting you know that I was reading the Caretaker Gazette, and you pay an annual subscription fee for the publication. I was reading it. I love reading like right through all the postings. They're from all over the world, and they're just very interesting to read. And so back in 2017, I had been subscribing to it, and I saw a post in Italy, and it was for a caretaker. I think I mentioned this in my other video. It was for a caretaker, a position. I wasn't interested in that, but as I was reading it, there was information about an apartment that they were renting. So I contacted the guy who posted it. I could see a picture of him because I think he was on the website for this villa that was like a bed and breakfast place and a wedding venue. And then they had this apartment, and I think he rented it the rest of the year, but it was towards the end of the year. Their season was ending, and he just wanted to rent it for a couple of months. So they were going to close completely in December till I think the spring. Anyway, we had these interactions, and he seemed like an up and up kind of guy. And so I sent him a deposit. I mean, the apartment was not much more than I was paying for the apartment I was living in Kingston. So I was thinking, this would be great. Yeah, so I sent him a deposit, and I was gonna go to Italy, and I was pretty stoked that I was gonna have an apartment waiting for me in Italy. Before I had left for my trip, I was looking through Eurail, the Eurail travel pass. For Americans, there's like a European version, and there's an American version. And I just want to say, so I traveled through Norway for 3 weeks, and I did go all over the country. Please see my previous video for a hand-drawn map that showed where I went in Norway. It was definitely worth buying the Eurail pass for Norway. And I did save money because the distances between cities are vast, and it's a pretty expensive country. So the train tickets were kind of pricey for the distance that you were the distance was kind of why it was pricey. But the Eurail pass actually helped me save money traveling around Norway. I also bought a monthly pass for Italy, which I have to say wasn't worth it for me because I didn't travel all over the country. I thought I was gonna, but I actually didn't end up doing that because I was in Tuscany, and while I can't compare Tuscany to other parts of Italy because I didn't travel around the country completely, Tuscany was so beautiful and had so many interesting things in it in the few cities that I went to that it was just gorgeous. And I just kept going to all my favorite spots while I was in that area. Tuscany is absolutely beautiful. The natural landscape, the architecture, just how old everything is, so beautiful. So for me, a month Eurail pass, excuse me, didn't save me any money. Just a couple of bits of info for you if you're thinking about it. And also another thing, in Italy, the train distances are not as long, and the tickets are not that expensive. So if you buy them from the train station in Italy. So that kind of is why I wouldn't recommend necessarily buying a month pass in Italy. Yes, in Norway. So anyway, I went, as I said, I went down to, I closed my sketchbook and I gotta find the page again, if I can. But perhaps you remember or maybe I'll pop it up here. No, I probably won't because I have no idea how to edit that in. Maybe I'll figure it out, you know. But anyway, so I went to Venice. I took a train. It took me 2 days to get from Vienna to Villa di Corleone. And I went through Venice. I changed trains in Venice. I was in Venice for 2 hours. I wish I could have stayed longer, but I couldn't. And then I went through Bologna and I stayed overnight in Bologna. And there happened to be a book fair going on, like an international book fair, very interesting. So that was fun. I stayed in a hotel and the book fair was right there on the plaza of the hotel, where the hotel was. And then I got on a train the next morning and I went all the way down to a train station that was near the villa. It wasn't in Pisa. It was called San Giuliano Terme. Now, I arrived at night. It was pouring rain. I had my bicycle with me. It was not an electric bike. It was a regular bike that I bought when I was still living in Kingston. It was my first brand new bike. I'd always bought used bikes. I had this brand new bike. I didn't want to get rid of it for my trip, so I actually took it with me. And I skipped a lot of stuff between getting from Kingston to where I was, where I'm about to tell you. There's lots of stories there. But suffice it to say, for now, I had my bicycle. I had taken it on the train. And my plan was to ride from San Giuliano Terme, the train station, to the villa, because on a map it looked pretty close, like maybe a mile or 2 or 3, something like that. So I have my bike, I'm on a train, it's packed. The train was absolutely packed. I have no idea why. And I had my bike with me, and it was annoying that I had my bike. I'm sure it was annoying to people because the bike was with me, with the people. It wasn't like there was a bicycle car or something like that. Anyway, I get off the train. It's a pretty isolated train station. And as I say, it was pouring rain. And I try to figure out where the villa is from where I am. So I just get on my bike and I start riding. And I'm totally miserable because it's pouring rain and I'm getting drenched. And there's no street lights, and it is pitch black, and I can barely see the road. And did I mention it was pouring rain? And I'm riding, and I'm like, I can't do this. This is terrifying. I maybe went a half a mile or 3/4 of a mile. I really don't know how far I had gone. It was maybe 7 minutes of riding, and I turn around and I go back to the train station because there was a pharmacy there. The only thing around the train station was a pharmacy that was open. So I go into the pharmacy and I asked them to call the number that I had for the guy I was renting the apartment from, who, by the way, I mentioned before is a prince. And, he's like in his 60s, but he was a nice guy. He's a prince. He was living in Pisa. When I was still in Bologna, I had contacted him and asked if he would pick me up at the train station. And he said he couldn't because he's in Pisa. It's like, it would be like a 20-minute car ride, if that. But for some reason, he didn't want to pick me up. And I didn't hold it against him, but I was just upset at the situation I found myself in. I was drenched to the skin, terrified, did not know where I was going. And I'm in a country I'm absolutely not familiar with, and it just seemed so isolated where I was. There were people, there were houses, but no one was around, especially in the rain, right? So I go in the pharmacy, and I am actually bawling my eyes out at this point. I was really scared and cold. And I walk in and I said, I asked if they could help me. Could you call this number? And ask them to come get me. And they could barely speak English. Someone there did help me, did understand me, and called. And there is actually kind of a funny explanation for why the prince didn't want to come get me. And I'm going to get to that in a second. So his wife comes and gets me. And the people in the pharmacy were so nice. I don't know why this pharmacy was open like so late at night when nothing else was open. It was so strange, but very lucky. And they let me use the bathroom to change my clothes, and I'm waiting for her. And she comes and gets me, and I lock my bike at the pharmacy, in the front of the pharmacy. I had no problems leaving it there. And at that point, actually, I didn't care. So I get in the car, she drives me there, and she tells me, like, I think I may have asked her, well, like, why didn't he want to pick me up or whatever? And she said, well, I think he thought that you could like handle it because, and let me give some context to that, in that area, there are, groups of cyclists, those really like, I don't know how to describe them. Like they look like pros, professionals. They have the spandex, they have the bikes with the really thin tires, and they ride, well, wait till the next day when I see the road. Anyway, he thought I was one of those cyclists, which is funny, where I'm really like some lady who is riding home with her groceries and a bunch of flowers in her bike basket. So he didn't know that. He just didn't know, because those kinds of cyclists go up and down the road that goes past the villa all the time. And actually all over Italy, I think, are these groups of bikers like that, which I'm definitely not. Anyway, it was fine. So I get to the villa and I meet the caretaker and I go to my apartment, and everything's awesome. I'm really happy to be there. And the next day, the prince takes me back to the pharmacy to pick up my bike. And it's daylight and it's not raining. It was a beautiful day, actually. But I see this road for the first time in the daytime, in the daylight. And I am telling you, I was like, what? First of all, this road was very narrow and no shoulder at all, or sidewalk or anything. And then parts of it that were houses. So the road was right up against the wall of a building or a wall of a garden. And then on the other side, it was open fields. And between the edge of the road, or right at the edge of the road, was a ditch that ran along the length of the road. It was not a deep ditch, but it was a ditch. And I thought, holy mackerel. I mean, it was the kind of ditch I could have fallen into or been sideswiped if an automobile passed me. And I'd end up in that ditch for what, days? Or who knows if ever somebody would find me. I have no idea. And when I realized how lucky I was that I turned around and went back to that pharmacy, I realized I really could have been killed if I had continued. Wow, that was like extraordinary to see in the daytime after what it was like when I was on it at night. Oh my God. So that was the beginning of my my time in at the Villa di Corigliano. And I did eventually meet the prince at some point that week. Oh no, what am I saying? I already met him. He drove me back to get my bike. And he like kind of apologized for not understanding what kind of a biker I was. I think that's pretty funny. So yeah, anyway, he was what I thought. I always thought he was a very nice guy. And anyway, that was that was my introduction to the Villa di Corigliano. And I had a lot of fun while I was there. I'm going to talk more about some of the things that I did. And I think that's enough for now. I'll talk about like going to Lucca and going to a language group so that I could learn and improve my Italian. And I'll talk more about all of that. So thank you for joining me. And remember, this is about pet sitting and traveling and drawing. And, so because I am traveling crazy cat lady Harriet, I do want to encourage you to show these videos. Sit down with your cat and watch the video or videos. And then please like, share, subscribe, and do come back. I would love to tell you more about what I've learned, what I did, and encourage you, to do whatever you want to have fun with your life. Okay, see ya.